I'm a pilot with the ABC, and the ABC every year provides the helicopter for the coverage of the Sydney to Hobart yacht race.
The start was just absolute gem, you know. Nor'easter coming in, a beautiful day. Blue sky, white water. We hooked up with the fleet somewhere off Wander. You know, just moving along beautifully, you know, in 25 knots of nor'easter. They were having an absolute ball.
At that stage, you know, the vision was quite sensational. We've got Brindabella punching through waves, sayonara, being windswept, and before we knew it, we were getting winds up to 65 knots. Almost immediately, the local police said, look, we've got a vessel in distress off Gabo Island, and that was the start of the disaster. The police told us of a vessel called Stand Aside, which had lost a mast off Gabo Island, and what greeted us was huge waves, 70-knot winds, and a yacht that had lost its mast and had lost half its roof and cabin as well. Here we have this incredible situation where we've got 12 sailors huddled in the remnants of their yacht, wanting to know how they were going to be rescued.
And when we got to Stand Aside, we opened the door and started shooting the predicament that Stand Aside was in. The guys were all just trying to stay on board this boat.
The rescue footage has got to be seen to be believed. I believe it was one of the best rescues that I've ever seen in my 28 years of flying.
The conditions then, they were just getting worse, and guys were getting blown around. A wave would come through, and the wire that the rescuer was tethered to the helicopter by was going 20-foot slack and then instantly taut. The fella on the end of it was just getting dragged 15, 20, 30 feet across the surface of the water.
But then at the very end of our endurance, being close to Stand Aside, reassuring Stand Aside, I received a very fateful mayday call from the yacht Winston Churchill. To this day, it still sends a chill down my spine to listen to the mayday call from Winston Churchill.
Mayday, 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 here is Winston Churchill, Winston Churchill.
Winston Churchill, Winston Churchill, ABC chopper. Go ahead with your position, over.
We're 20 miles southeast of Twofold Bay, over.
Nature of your mayday, over.
ABC chopper, we are hold. We are taking water rapidly. We cannot get the motor started to start the pumps, over.
Roger, how many on board, over?
9 persons.
We couldn't see him in the haze and the rain, but he was so close, he was so clear, he was so determined about where he was. It was quite a feat by the skipper to remain so calm, because his yacht was sinking pretty quickly from his description. Within 30 seconds we lost all communication with him. Now we relayed that mayday call, but we had no fuel at all to go look for him. That was my dilemma at the time.
Gary's sort of going through, working out, you know, how far we can go, how much fuel we've got, and he worked out that it wasn't possible. In the meantime, there's other bloody maydays going off here and there and everywhere.
I had to say to myself, you cannot afford to spend 5 or 10 minutes looking for this yacht. But that's going to be with me forever. We were going to refuel at Malakuta and head back to Winston Churchill. On our way back to Malakuta, we heard a search and rescue aircraft give a definite sighting for Winston Churchill. I felt that was in the wrong position as to the location that the skipper had very deliberately given us in his mayday call. That's the most serious call you'll ever make in your life, and you've got to make sure you got it right. But at Malakuta, everything was intensified. There was then another mayday call, man overboard, but I was all the time anxious that we were looking in the wrong area for Winston Churchill. And we were in the wrong area because the search and rescue aircraft had misidentified a yacht. The sea state at that time was windswept, 70 to 80 knots, squall lines, the worst conditions I'd been in ever in a helicopter. There were people in real trouble. So far as Winston Churchill is concerned, I know that they spent 24 hours, nobody knew where they were. The following evening, one life raft was sighted, and unfortunately over the next 2 days, bodies were recovered. For the next 2 days, we were just conducting search after search after search.
I was looking forward to Constitution Dock round New Year, and of course it was anything but a party, and it was almost morbid. It was like going to a funeral, and I guess that's just what it was.
It was important for me to be there. It was a kind of closure to the race that turned into a tragedy. We finished the race, so far as we finished the coverage of the race and made it complete. We were out there gathering the news vision, which was going to be great vision. But the weather really turned into a cyclone. Your whole role changes in that people are in trouble. The news requirement is secondary to you rendering life-saving assistance. And that is not questionable, never been questioned in the operation of the ABC.